everyone, welcome back to another edition of Movies That Move We. Today you will notice there's a different person on the couch. Meet my brother, Dean. Say hello to the people.
Hi, peoples.
You want to tell them anything about yourself?
I am a content creator, CEO and owner of Dean Michael Innovations. I do a lot of AI from digital art, working with ChatGPT. I am a AI music producer. I'm involved in a lot of social media and making social media content. So to do a movie review, it's kind of falls into place with the things that I do. I like creative things. So my sister said, hey, what you doing? You doing this? So that's why I'm here.
Bossy little sister. So today, thank you for joining me because
Oh, you're welcome.
I was in a pinch. So today, don't tell nobody. Today we are talking about a movie called Parallel. It was written by, let me see if I can find his name, Koresh Shahari, as well as Aldous and Edwin Hodge. Aldous you probably recognize from One Night in Miami, Hidden Figures, and The Underground, which is taking it way back.
He was also in Black
Black Adam.
Black Adam. He was
I
Hawkman.
didn't see it, but yeah. Edwin, his brother, was in The Purge. I didn't see that. Bumblebee, and he was in 4 episodes of Sleepy Hollow, which featured Nicole Bahari. Loved that show, which wish they wrapped it up properly, but stuff happens.
Everything.
And then Danielle Deadweiler she's also in this. She was a executive producer for the movie. You'll recognize her from Till, which we did last year, The Harder They Fall, which I think we did the year before, and she was also in the Netflix movie From Scratch. So we got some really solid folks. They are the only actors in the movie. 3 people. The setting is technically 2 places, but there's a lot that happens in this movie.
And to stop right there, just the fact that there's only 3 people in the movie, it was very well directed and coordinated. That it didn't fall off to you didn't even notice that you were dealing with 3 people.
Right.
Because of the characters that they had to play throughout the whole entire film. It really was well put together. I'm into thrillers and mysteries, but this one, not seeing the original, really had me at the edge of my seat, and it gives you a lot to think about.
Yeah. So as he said, this is not the original. The original is actually a film called Parallel Forest, which is a Chinese film that was done in 2019. So they bring this to an American audience, all black cast, and I'm sure it hits differently on the cultural side of things. So what happens in this film is Vanessa, played by Danielle Deadweiler, she's grieving. She lost her son in a car accident. She was driving. She didn't cause the accident, but she still blames herself. Her husband, who's played by Aldous Hodge, in the film, his name is Alex, which just happens to be Aldous Hodge's real name, middle name. He's her husband, and he's trying to be patient and let her work through her grieving, but also trying to remind her that it's not your fault. You don't have to carry this burden. Edwin Hodge plays her brother-in-law, whose middle name is Martell, and that's his name in the film, they're all together at their lake house, kind of a getaway to regroup. And she's struggling because it's also coming up on the 1 year anniversary of her son's death. So, what happens is the location, the house, is adjacent to a place where they were doing all kinds of experiments. Um, Martell and Alex's father was familiar with the experiments, and they had to do with parallel universe. You want to get into what that is a little bit?
Well, I mean, it seems like a lot of the movies these days, a lot of sci-fi, or if you're following Marvel and DC movies, they're talking about the multiverse and how these one character can exist in many different worlds, but there are slight differences between them, but there are generally, as a whole, um, they're the same.
Mm.
So parallel touches on, well, it jumps into that. Um, Probably within the first 15 minutes of getting into the movie, you start seeing these things that speak to that. Um, a thing about this movie that's real interesting. This is a movie you have to watch maybe 2 or 3 times, and the reason why I say that, there it was so well done. There's a lot of clues
Mm-hmm.
in the movie, and once you get the understanding, you watch it a second time, you're looking at this like, wait a minute. You start piecing things together, and you do you really get the complete answer? You get close,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still an entertaining um, piece of work that, for mystery and dealing with multiverse, it doesn't get lazy with the
Right.
multiverse messaging.
And it doesn't overload you with, okay, this is how the multiverse works. You know, there's a scene in the opening where they're talking about, well, this is what our father believed, and they kind of allude to the fact that he went into the multiverse and never came back. It's kind of lingering there. But the way they laid it out, they gave you a visual diagram of what they were talking about, so you could somewhat follow along. Like Dean said, you got to watch it 3 or 4 times. I watched it 4 times. He watched it 1.5. And if you saw the notes that I took during the last time I watched it, he was sitting beside me like, wow, really? But there's a lot. They loaded up with um, symbolism relating to time and change as well. And I think that's probably the one thing that I kind of noticed about Vanessa's character as she went through each time and space. Um, it kind of helped her to see, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm not dealing with my grief well. And even something that her brother in law said in the beginning, she actually repeated it at a certain point. So that's the other thing. You'll notice some repetition. And again, this is so well done. It doesn't feel like they're beating you over the head with the message of change. What are your thoughts?
It's very subtle the way that they tie in. The movie's called Parallel, but they hit so many different layers in this movie where they're talking about the relationship between the husband and wife and grieving, and how they both handle grief different
Mm-hmm.
ways. There's also the relationship between the brothers, um, that's explored but ties into the movie as far as um, their professions and their outlooks on life. They are very intelligent um, African American men in their own professions, and show that their level of intelligence that they have acquired that talks about the multiverse, but talks about the complexities of relationships when you're dealing with certain circumstances, whether it be addiction, whether it be loss, um, whether it be just, you know, family dynamics. So there's a lot of layers to this that tie into the movie so neatly that this is something that you want to watch again. And for me, there are maybe three characters visible in this movie, but there's actually four to me. The fourth one is the father. The father is the key to this whole movie because he explained it to the sons. One gets it to a certain level that it's like, you know what?
He
I now,
accepts it.
yeah, he accepts it. The other one is just like, look, that was crazy, and you're gonna have to deal with that. I don't want to hear no parts of it. But it's the father, even though he's absent in the movie because we don't know what happened, or maybe I missed that part, but I believe we don't know what happened. That he's aware of these experiments. He's aware of these um, multiverse intertwining, and the youngest son, he has understanding that when you start seeing the movie develop, everything falls into place, and then you see things that the father has left behind, whether it be in a figurative or a literal sense. That is like, okay, now you've picked it up. Now, how you handle this is going to determine your future.
Right, right. So we're not giving anything away. I hope we're not giving anything. It's hard to give anything away with this movie because, like we keep saying, there are so many layers. But to help you, in case you haven't watched it yet, things that you need to pay attention to: the shoes. That will help you identify who's who, sort of. The other thing that you need to pay attention to is they walk through a gateway. You won't necessarily recognize it as a gateway.
We'll pause that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
For this being a sci-fi thriller, um, it didn't deal with, you know, they didn't come right out and say anything about technology.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't deal with that, and it
Right.
didn't do anything like with the astrophysical and stuff like
Right.
that.
You didn't see any
Supernatural,
ripples or lights or anything like
right?
that.
But what they did, they took the environment, the natural environment, and made it into that playing field for the sci-fi genre
Mm-hmm.
that was very genius. I mean, it was mentioned as a portal,
Right.
but the portal was a hollowed
A
out tree,
tree. Mm-hmm.
about the base of the tree, that was just the key to the whole thing. And it's just like you're watching this, but you don't question. It's like, wait a minute. So what we've seen in your typical time travel, there's got to be this elaborate device
Mm-hmm.
in this elaborate laboratory, in this secluded place. The only thing that they played with, which was always done in the movies, is the secluded place, which is their lake house, and this the land that's behind it.
Forest, right.
Outside of that, you're clueless. You're watching this, and it's like you don't realize that they've played you so well. You're just like, that is a portal.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is that? And it is just and you got to pay attention to the
Right.
characters.
You have to pay attention to the characters, but even the scenery, like you were saying, when they walk through the portal, you're not thinking, oh, that's a portal. When they walk through that tree, they're walking from one plane into the other. And each time they do that, the doorway looks slightly different. Now, this last time I watched it, I sat here and I could show you the notes, but
She didn't take
that's gonna
measurements
give
or anything like that.
no,
She
nothing
was
like
just,
that. But you know,
it was getting that close.
but I counted at least 5 different portals that they went through. before by the time they got to the end of the movie. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to their clothing. And they'll point out to you in the film what you need to look at to notice the difference in the characters. So you'll be able to say, oh, that's Vanessa A or that's Vanessa C. You'll be able to figure out who you're dealing with. By the time you get to the end, you're kind of back to questioning who you're dealing with.
Hmm. And wondering why you watched this movie with this person as she was taking notes. And just, your mind is just like, okay. But the camera work on this um, is excellent because they do direct you. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they direct you, but they give you enough information to play with, and it's like the, they really mess with your mind in this one. There's
In a good way.
yeah,
You're actually doing some thinking and calculating of your own
you
as
got
you're
pie
watching it.
charts and you're mapping stuff. It's I think if my sister didn't introduce me to this movie, it would never been on my radar. But stuff like this is a thinking movie, but it's still entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
It's thinking in the sense that just like what just happened, and you are able to rewind and just like wait a minute, let's really analyze this detail and then move on
Right.
and try to piece it together. But they're always still trying to throw some monkey
A
wrench in the
little curve.
plan to
Yeah.
kind of either throw you off or really make sure that you are paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, again, the movie talks to me about the various relationships that are involved. It's Vanessa with Alex and Alex with Martell and Martell with Vanessa. The three of them are so intertwined
Mm-hmm.
in this. Is that by the time you get to the end of it, there's a surprise,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, you're still wondering, it's like, who's who?
Right. Right.
And how's this going to really work out?
Right. I don't know. I think I wasn't worried about how is this really going to work out, because as I watched it all four times, I came to the conclusion that each version of themselves was looking for their ideal, where they were, with the exception of one version of the three of them. They were caught up. They were so shaken by the accident that they were looking for that peaceful place emotionally. They're looking for that peaceful place. And I think each character, by going into the forest or traveling into these other planes, they found their place. I'll say it like that. By the end, they found their place. Um, and I want to say they all took that journey together, because there was a question that was asked, um, that Alex asked Vanessa and Martell, and they were like, no. So it's like, look, we're good, we're satisfied, we're fine. We're just going to leave things where they are right now. So for me, this is a highly recommend. Right now, I think it has a 90% Rotten Tomatoes score.
It deserved
Um,
it and more.
hmm Yeah, so definitely check this out. I watched it on Paramount Plus. I believe you can find it on Hulu, and I want to say, oh, I forget what the other one is, but you can definitely find it on those two platforms. On Hulu, you may need to rent it, but definitely check this one out. Once again, it's called Parallel. You should see the poster up here, but definitely check this one out. Bring a notebook, bring a pen,
It,
so you can keep track.
the more I think about it, it's a very uh, deep, well put together movie. I think it speaks to life situations, people going through the people going through life. Life is lifing, and you want to find happiness
Right.
in whatever that means to you. And this was just, again, so well put together, and at the same time it was like so complex how they were able to take these three entities and with their own angst that they were dealing with, be able to find some semblance of happiness. I think there's only one character to me right now, Martell, that I have a big question. Did he find the happiness that he was looking for, or did he even realize he was looking for it in the beginning? It did
Right.
address Alex. It did address Vanessa. Um, but it's I look at it as what's going on in everybody's lives. You know, there's all these things that we're grieving. There's a loss of something. There is, you
It's
know, I'm not
layers. It's
complete in
layers.
one way, and this spoke to that.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that's all we have for today. I'm going to encourage you once again to like, share, follow, tell your mama, tell your friends. Follow us on YouTube at movies. Why can I not say this right? Movies That Move We. You'll find that on the Media That Moves We page, Movies That Move We playlist. Also follow us on Facebook, Movies That Move We as well. Any closing words?
Good movie, highly recommended. Go to the bathroom before you go watch this movie, because you go and you come back, there's stuff you're gonna miss. You'll be like,
Yeah, you got to keep your eyes glued.
"Where did the clown come from?" There's no clown in it. Just, you know, just. But it's this was an enjoyable brother sister movie to check out.
Bonding.
Bonding, yeah. You know, you might see me again. There won't be for any scary movies. I'll tell you that right now, because that's what she likes. The paranormal.
Love paranormal stuff. But anyway, that's all we have for today. We'll see you next week. Pay attention to our Facebook page to see what movie's coming up next. Until next time, bye.
Peace.